Guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform known as Nduna Wengombe, which means headman of cattle. My name, of course, is Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the Induna Wengombe. Firstly, I just want to say to all the returning subscribers, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. I know this is probably the first time we see each other for this year 2022. I've been busy, as you guys can see, I'm sure by the background. We have changed location. We're no more in our usual location. We have been moved from our usual location into a different location. I just want to say to the new subscribers, welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for selecting my channel to be your agricultural encyclopedia. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let us delve into the first video for the year 2022, which is herd immunity alarm sounded on the shortage of livestock vaccines in South Africa. But before I continue that video, I just want to say once again, thank you very much to the new subscribers who have subscribed to this channel. We are currently on the number 657 subscribers. Thank you very much to those that have, as I said, decided to make this their agricultural channel where they will get information and learn from. But let's get into the alarms being sounded for a shortage of livestock vaccines in South Africa. So, most vaccines to protect South African livestock from diseases are produced at state-owned enterprise Onderspoort Biological Production, OBP. The industry's sources and leading vets say that there is a critical shortage of many of the vaccines and point to governance issues at OBP. The OBP board says it inherited a mess but has a plan to upgrade production facilities that it says were not properly maintained in parts. According to farmers, vets, executives in the agricultural sector, there has been a critical and persistent shortage of vaccines needed to protect livestock, horses, cattle, and sheep from a range of infections and biting insects. This comes against the backdrop of extremely wet summer seasons that has created a flourishing environment for dangerous parasites. The diseases include blue tongue, African horse sickness, and Rift Valley fever. OBP board has admitted that there has been a production issue which it attributes to past failures to maintain and plan properly, as well as an ongoing woes such as load shedding, a bane to all South African industry. So some of those, I think what OBP is busy, the drum they're busy hitting almost sounds similar to the ESCOM drum, but they're saying a lack of maintenance, lack of upgrading of their tools and machinery and facilities they utilize to develop this medication. So they're mentioning all these things. So they are giving their reasons why there is a shortage to the various medication. As I mentioned, it's medication for blue tongue, African horse sickness, Rift Valley fever. So if you are in dire need of that medication, and you're in South Africa or outside South Africa, even the country South Africa trades with, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, if you need this medication, this could explain why you're probably not finding the medication stocked in your agricultural market. OBP chairperson, Ms. Renee Kenosi, said there have been numerous production challenges. I am not painting a rosy, this is what she said as she was being interviewed. I'm not painting a rosy picture because it is not rosy. Kenosi in her characterizing what has been happening at OBP. When we were appointed on the 1st of November 2020, we were greeted with a strike. We had HR related problems. We had production which was not happening at that point due to infrastructural breakdown. We did not produce anything until February 2021. So some of the problems: aging infrastructure, lack of maintenance, and HR problems. Sources in the horse industry confirmed to Business Maverick this was indeed the case. However, there were vaccine shortages during the peak season of African horse sickness, an often fatal disease spread by infected insects that affect horses, donkeys, and mules. There have been an important vaccination either unavailable or in short supply at critical times. This includes vaccinations for the insect transmitted viral diseases: blue tongue, African horse sickness, lumpy skin disease, and Rift Valley fever. There has also been a shortage of the blood vaccines for the tick-borne disease, heartwater, red heartwater, and gall sickness. Dr. Leon de Bruin, president of the South African Veterinary Association, told the Business Maverick, but also said there was a shortage to the brucellosis strain 19 vaccine. Brucellosis is a bacterial zoonotic illness that causes the Malta fever in humans from drinking infected milk or consuming or coming into contact with animal tissue containing brucellosis bacteria. Then there was an open letter sent to them. From an open letter, executive vets and scientists sent this to OBP. Ongoing livestock vaccination shortage could be dire, noting that good rains have fallen in South Africa in the year 2021 to 2022 season, creating conditions where parasite transmitting animal diseases generally thrive. Many animals that should have been vaccinated to prevent diseases transmitted by these parasites remain unvaccinated. The cattle, sheep, and horse industry could face a very bleak 2022. It also says that OBP needs transparency in the investigation of allegation of criminal activities and incompetency. In addition, the letter raises concern about the composition of the new board put in place in November 2020, saying that very few of these had any experience in the field of vaccination production or even agricultural production. Board members who spoke to Business Maverick say that its composition is what one would expect to find in many companies and includes accountants, experts in the animal science, a vet, and HR specialist. Regardless of whether the ultimate blame lies, there are legitimate concerns about livestock vaccination supply at critical times, and the stakes are high. An outbreak of a certain animal disease can lead to export shutdown and hugely costly to farmers. Knock-on effect could include upward pressure on meat prices, which would feed into the wider food production inflation. So that's what's happening at OBP. I felt I read the article on the Business Maverick, as I've been constantly mentioning it throughout the presentation. You guys can go read the article. It goes further with more information on what exactly is happening. But I did see an article also in Farmers Weekly where they spoke about the same thing, talking about the shortages of certain livestock medication. I noticed that there was shortages of livestock medication last year, 2021 to 2020, when I was set to get ultra shot, is it 6-in-1? So I was sent to get that and I couldn't find it in the store. So when I asked the salesperson what could be the problem, he said no. He gave a reason that COVID was the big issue why the medication were not coming in. But today, earlier this morning, usually when I wake up, I read my political news, I read my business news, and then I read my agricultural news. And this article stood out as to explain why probably we are experiencing a shortage, particularly here in Namibia, because we rely heavily on South Africa's development of medication. Most of the medication we have in Namibia is either produced or developed in South Africa. Some here and there, some of them might come from our neighboring other countries like Zimbabwe, Botswana or so, but mostly it comes from South Africa, and the Namibian farmers would be very familiar with the name, with the OBP brand, because that's the medication we buy. I believe they produce many medications. I've used their brand on lumpy skin. I've used their brand on brucellosis. I know the brand quite well. I know it quite well. So those could be part of the reasons that we are experiencing certain shortages or certain medications in various stores, and certain medication of livestock in various stores, and medication of whether it's cattle, horses, sheep, or even chickens. And this is what's happening. As you hear that the board inherited the company and they only started producing in February 2021. They were appointed in 2020, but only started producing in 2021, which leaves a very big gap there. And this is why some of the industry experts, such as Mr. Leon de Bruyne, the president of the South African Veterinary Association, and other people who are part and parcel of the agricultural sector in South Africa, wrote a letter, and they asked for transparency in the investigation to find out what's going on. And some of them also feel that some of the people appointed into these boards, I believe, which are probably politically appointed, do not have the necessary skills to be sitting on such a board of such a company. But it's quite sad when you see a company like OBP going through stuff like this, similar to what I mentioned when I was reading, and I said it rings some bells, similar to what is this other company in South Africa, Eskom, the utility company. You will always hear the chairperson or the CEO speak of infrastructure, dilapidated infrastructure falling apart. It seems like OBP are also mentioning the same thing, infrastructure falling apart, outdated technologies, and so forth. So I hope a solution is found, and I hope people can be held accountable, because if OBP crumbles and falls, it's not just South Africa that will be affected. You're talking about the country I live in, Namibia, will also be affected. I believe probably Zimbabwe and I think Zimbabwe probably produce medication, but probably they import too. Botswana will also probably be affected. So it's most of the SADC countries that import livestock medication which will be affected if they don't find a solution. As I said, the board was appointed in November 2020, but they only started production in February 2021. This is last year. And now we're in 2022. South Africa has been getting good rains. The farmers are ringing the bell because it's been raining, and we all know rain brings, as much as it brings blessings, it also brings its own challenges, such as now ticks are going to be all over the place, flies that also carry diseases, and waterborne diseases too. Cattle will be drinking from still standing water, ponds out in the field there, and they could be picking up a certain disease. And we know this is also the time of when they're mentioning that they might not have medication for illnesses like brucellosis, and the brucellosis one is very important. You know, African Rift Valley fever, horse sickness, blue tongue. It really. I'm not that involved in the agricultural sector. I'm not really actively farming, but it really leaves a person with some cold chills down his spine, because now you're sitting down and saying, if these medications are limited, you know, something that is important such as brucellosis, it really doesn't sit well, because if you have a brucellosis outbreak in your country and you are an exporter of beef, whether cattle or sheep or goat, and this outbreak happens, they completely shut down your exporting. So I do hope the OBP people are going to sort it out. I hope if there's a subscriber here who works for OBP, hopefully you can hit me up on a message and we could have a conversation on this, have an interview so the farmers could hear what's going on and what are the steps to solution this issue. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you very much to the people that have been part of this journey, and I hope you guys had a very good entered 2022 very well, and this year may be a year where we do bigger, better, and go further than most. With that said, bye for now.